Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Lysha and I'm the owner of Lysha Be Creative. Today's video is a little bit different. We're actually going to be working on a rhinestone template. So rhinestone templates have been really popular lately, and I have been someone who has been trying for the longest to try and figure out how I can create these myself, because sometimes I have lots of different ideas and don't always kind of find the exact templates and color schemes I might be looking for. So I thought I would do a tutorial showing you how you can make your own rhinestone templates and maybe even get into selling them of your own. So the very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to head over to Etsy and we're going to find a blank rhinestone template. So this is the step one in the process of creating your own rhinestone templates. So if you search in Etsy, you can very easily find blank rhinestone templates by just searching for blank rhinestone templates right in the search bar. I personally am using one from CNM Design Co. I love her templates. I've used her rhinestone pattern templates before. She has so many different sizes, but she also carries blank ones in her shop as well. And so I've purchased her 20-ounce tumbler sized rhinestone template using SS20 rhinestones. So she has blank templates for both SS16 and SS20. So you want to make sure that when you're purchasing your blank rhinestone template that you are searching for a size that's going to fit a cup that you typically are going to be using or creating a design for. Additionally, if you're going to be selling these, you also need to make sure that you purchase the license from the company or business that you're purchasing your file from in order to make this something digital that you can purchase. So I'm just showing you here the different patterns that she offers. She offers a lot of blank template options for a lot of very popular sizes of templates and tumblers. So be sure though that you're paying attention to what size stone they're for, because that's going to determine what size rhinestones you need to purchase if you're going to be using this to create your own templates when it comes to your own tumblers. So once I have decided on the template that I'm going to use, I'm going to go ahead and purchase this. So I have already purchased this file, obviously, in order to do this tutorial or video. So I'm going to show you, though, how you can download your template next, okay? So for downloading, you'll note that when you're downloading from Etsy, you have to go to the web browser if you're going to be doing this directly from your iPad. You certainly could airdrop the item or the PDF to your, between your devices. But because I'm doing this directly on my iPad, I'm going to go to Etsy in the web browser as opposed to the app. And then I'll be able to get into my downloaded files and be able to download the PDF file that is attached to this that I've downloaded. So once I have downloaded this will then show up in we're going to send it to my Procreate. So it opens up in another window. And in order to get this template here into my Procreate, I'm very simply going to go up to the top of the screen here and hit the share button, which is that little rectangle box with the up arrow. And then for me, because Procreate actually didn't come up as an immediate option, I did have to go to the three dots, which is the more, and then scroll down to find Procreate. And then now that I've selected Procreate, this template is going to be sent directly into my Procreate. So here you'll see I now have the template is now into my Procreate. Makes it super easy and simple to be able to do all the design work and things I'm going to be using to create my own rhinestone template right here. The other thing that I like to do when I'm in Procreate is when I'm doing something like using a template as my base, I always like to keep the original file and then just make copies of the original blank file in order for me to then use this same file across many different designs. So I know that today's design is not going to be the only design that I've made, and I've actually used this file and template multiple times already to create different fun designs that I've kind of had in my head but don't always know how are going to turn out. So I've been making a lot of different rhinestone patterns, and so I like to keep the original file kind of standalone as it is, and then click the select button up at the top of your Procreate screen, select the file that we just renamed, and then duplicate it. Once I've duplicated that file, I am then going to rename the file that I'm going to be using to create my design. So for this, we're going to be doing sort of a basket weaving design for a rhinestone tumbler. And so I'm going to just name it something that's going to make sense for me when I go to print this later. So now we're going to go ahead and open up our file, and we can go ahead and get started into step 2 of the process. Okay, so now on to step 2. So for me in this design, we're doing kind of a basket weaving look. And so I know basket weave tumblers have been super popular and there's lots of great templates out there. I wanted to turn this into a rhinestone design. So the way that I've did this is I'm a very visual person. So I decided to draw out my design just so I had kind of an idea of what this would look like and how it would look like around the cup when done. I've also already picked out colors that I know that I want to use in a color scheme. So I have some beautiful neon rhinestones from Bella Designs by Elsie. And then I know that the background of my design is going to be all black, jet black rhinestones. So you don't have to have your stones on hand. You certainly could just go in with your own color palette if you choose. I just decided to choose rhinestones I have on hand because we are going to be turning this template into a physical rhinestone tumbler later down the road. So what I'm going to do first is, because I did this original design on this sort of scrap piece of paper with just markers I had on hand, I'm going to rename all of my lines the actual colors that they will be in Procreate so that I don't get confused when I get to that section. So following kind of the pattern and the colors that I have on hand, I've just labeled each of the lines. That way I know what color that line is going to represent when we go to do the design work in our rhinestone template. So now that I have that done, we're going to go ahead and get started on creating our template. Okay, so now we're on to step 3 in the process, which is putting our design onto our rhinestone pattern. So this star here is the center section of the template, and so I am going to go down 9 rhinestones straight down, and I am going to drag and drop my color, which is going to be pink, and I'm going to drag and drop that into that circle that I landed on, okay? So when you do this, you are going to drag and drop, and it should automatically color fill. Now, my color fill is set at 73%, I believe, and that is the perfect size of the circle. You may go in if you're using Procreate and find that it's set to 100%, and if that's the case, and all you need to do when you go to drag and drop is the threshold will say that it's at 100%. Just scroll your pencil to the left, and that will then lower the percentage of the threshold. So the next thing I've done is now I'm going to go down in that V section as I showed on my image all the way till I get to the bottom of the template. So making sure that I'm staying in a straight diagonal line and I'm not skewing from that line to be able to make sure that I'm getting a nice straight diagonal line for this template. We're going to do the exact same thing with the other side. And the other thing that I forgot to note is after you've dragged and dropped your first initial color into the first circle of your rhinestone, you need to make sure that you click the continue filling button so that it continues to allow you to just literally tap into each circle to fill those circles with the color that you're using. So now that we've kind of done the initial V, what we're going to do is thicken up this line. So I know that I want this line to be about 3 rows of rhinestones wide. So I've just kind of gone up until I am at the 3 rhinestone sort of height. So 3 straight rhinestones up for my first initial circle. And now we're just going to kind of speed up that section and fill in all of what would be directly diagonal to the left and right of that section. So I'm going to show you this process again, and now we're going to move on to our next color. But really, creating your own rhinestone templates is literally as simple as dragging and dropping in your color. I always thought it was much more technical and more complicated, and when you just use the color drop feature, it really does make creating your rhinestone templates so much easier, and I'm literally able to get rhinestone templates done in literally 10 to 20 minutes depending on the complexity of my design. So now going back to our next color, what I've done is I've gone to where the kind of bottom point section of my first initial color is, and I've counted down about 6 straight rhinestones straight down the center. And we're going to go ahead and drag and drop our next color, which is going to be the neon green. So I'm just going to go ahead and drag and drop that color into that section. And because I've already clicked color fill or continue filling, I didn't need to drag and drop. You literally can continue to just switch your colors and then tap in those circles to fill in with the color you're currently using. We're going to do the same exact thing here, but remember, we're working on the upward or upside down V. So we're going to create those diagonal straight lines through that first circle up through the edge of the pattern. And when we get to the pink section where the intersection happens, we're going to skip that line because this is going to look like this green has kind of gone underneath the pink. And we're going to do the same exact thing on the other side. So skip the pink section so that it looks like that line of rhinestones is under the pink. And then go all the way up in that straight diagonal line till I reach the top of the pattern. Once I've reached the top of the pattern, we're going to do the exact same thing, and we're going to make this green section 3 rhinestone rows thick. So I want to make sure that I am covering up in the upward section 3 rhinestones. So my first point being 1, then we're going to go 2, and then we'll be at row 3. And then that is then going to be what I fill in to make my diagonal section. So another speed session of me filling this section in. And again, we're just creating these sort of V section bands of color. Now that I have done with the 2 intersection sections, which are my 2 inner colors, if you will, my pink and my green, we're going to go ahead and do the outer 2 V sections as well. So we're going to start with the bottom section just because I thought that my green section was a little bit close to the bottom, and I was unsure if I really had gone in the middle with my pink section. So I wanted to make sure that I had enough room here. So I decided to go with the bottom section first, or the bottom line first, just in case I needed to kind of scrap this and start over and move my initial pink point up higher. So once I have moved about 5 dots down from my point of my green, I've then selected my color yellow and just tapped in that initial point section. And now again, we're going to create those diagonal lines. But when we reach the pink section, we're going to go through the pink section because we want the yellow to showcase over top of the pink. So it's going to look like this line of what would be glitter on a tumbler look like it goes over top of the pink versus under like we did with the green line. So again, following that straight and diagonal line all the way up until I get to the top of the pattern, just tapping in each of the circles. Be careful when you are tapping in your circles. Make sure you're tapping in that open white space in the center and that you are not tapping on any of the black that is surrounding that rhinestone section, because that will end up changing the color of your actual template and not changing the color of what is inside of the circle in each section. So just something to be mindful of. But if you do, certainly just hit the back arrow and it'll just reset itself and you can go ahead and tap back into that open white space. Same thing here. We're going to make this 3 rhinestone rows thick. So going up 3 rhinestones straight up and then filling in the corresponding sections all the way up the band of the diagonal line on either side of my original point. So again, I'll do this in yet another speed session here, and then we're going to get into doing the final color that kind of rounds out this entire basket weaving template before we fill in the entire background. So now we are on to our final color here, okay? So we're going to do our very final color here, and we're going to go back to what is our pink section where we started, and we're going to move from our pink section up to the top. The one thing I am making sure to do is I am measuring how many straight line of rhinestone dots are in between the green and the yellow. So from the point of the green to the point of the yellow, so I can make sure to make it even on the flip side. So counting here, and I think it was about 5 or 6 straight dots straight up, and I land at this circle here. So same thing we're doing here, okay? We're going to fill in those diagonal lines going straight down, and when we get to the green and the yellow lines here, we're going to go under one and then over top of the other, okay? So we want this to look like a real basket weave design. So we're skipping the green, we're going under the green, but then we're going to go through the yellow. So it looks like we're under the green section, but we've basket weaved over the yellow section. So following that line all the way down till I reach the end of the template, then I'm going to switch and go directly to the other side. Same idea here. We are going to go back to the top here and we are going to follow that straight diagonal line. When we get to the green, we're going to skip the green, make it look like it goes under the green, and then we're going to continue our pattern and go straight through the yellow. Then follow that line and pattern all the way down to the bottom of this template, again creating that V. That way we can go right back to the top of our template, the start of our purple, and make sure that our section of purple is again 3 rhinestone rows thick. So again, filling in the circles that I need in order to make sure that my rhinestone section here is 3 rows of rhinestones thick. And then again, a speed session of me filling in or filling up the entire purple sections, bands of sections of the purple, and speeding through that section. Let's go ahead and move into the final section of putting this design together. Now, the final part of creating and finishing off our template is we have to fill in all of the background circles. Now, if you wanted to keep the background white, you could just leave this blank, and then obviously everything that's empty would be a white rhinestone. But because I know that the background is going to be black, I'm going to go ahead and fill in all of the background color with the color black, because that'll represent the black rhinestones. So same deal here. We're just going to pick a section and kind of start with anything that is white. We're going to change that to black. Again, we're just tapping in all of those circles. So you'll see here, because I waited too long and I had clicked on my brush button, I had to go back and color fill. So I just dragged and dropped the black into the first circle I was using and made sure to click color, continue filling. That way I can just continue to tap into each of those circles and it will fill them in as black rhinestones. So I'm just going to continue this process. I'm not going to sit here and make you watch the entire thing, but all the open rhinestones that haven't been colored in, I'm just going to go in and color them black. I will send you into a speed session so you don't have to watch me painstakingly cover in all of them. But honestly, at the normal speed, it really didn't take me any longer than maybe 25 minutes to put this entire rhinestone template together. And that was through a little bit of starting and stopping just to make sure that the pattern that I was putting together was going to make sense and come out the way that I envisioned it to. So quick speed session of me filling in all of the rhinestones. Again, just tapping each of the sections. Certainly, if you get into a situation where you accidentally make a mistake, I did have to use the back button a lot because I was pausing a little bit and that would kind of reset my canvas. Or I would accidentally click on the brush button, which then would reset it, and I would have to go back to drag and drop and use the color drop tool in order to get these circles to fill in evenly. So all the way through this section, and now we're just going to show you, I'm just going to show you the little bit of me filling in the very bottom edge here, kind of in real time here. Just the last few, again, I'm just tapping in those circles. That's literally all I'm doing, and it makes creating your own rhinestone templates and designs so easy. So now that I have my entire template filled out, this is exactly what it looks like. So of course you can't really see what this is going to look like on the flip side where those two cross sections will meet on the other side, but we are going to turn this into a cup. So of course you're going to be able to see what this template looks like actually on a cup with all of the rhinestones done. So the very final thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding the rhinestone color with the name of the rhinestone that is meant to be purchased with this. So this is not a file that I'm selling, but I do think that if you are someone who is going to get into the business of selling your own rhinestone patterns, that you're going to want to make sure that you label at the bottom of your template what colors are meant to go with this design. So because I have my rhinestones on hand, I already know what all these rhinestones are called in the rhinestone world. So I've just clicked a monoline brush and I've raised that percentage to about 70%. I'm going to go ahead and raise it to 100% to make a little bit of a thicker dot. And we're just going to create a dot down here with each of the colors. And then we're just going to use sort of the text box feature in order to label the rhinestones here. So I'm just going to go through and put all of my colored dots down first. So we just did our neon purple. Now we're going to do our neon rose. And then we're going to go into labeling these. So after I've gotten my colors done and all of my dots decided or laid out kind of one under the other, we're going to go up to the wrench tool here and we're going to select add text. And then we're just going to pick whatever font I kind of have on hand. It doesn't really matter which font you choose to use. It's completely up to you, but something that obviously is going to be legible to whoever reads and then prints this template out, downloads and prints it out if you're going to be selling these, again, with a license from whatever shop you purchase it from. And we're going to go ahead and label these. So the first color that we're going to be labeling is going to be, oh, and I did make sure to select my font color to be black just because I felt that would be easiest to be read. But our first color here is going to be our neon emerald. And you can certainly go back to, you know, the rhinestones that you're using to be able to determine what color they are. Or you can search maybe your favorite rhinestone place to purchase rhinestones from and label it that way. Now, just because you're labeling it with these colors does not necessarily mean that people are going to use these colors specifically. They might have their own colors in mind to use with your template, but I think it's important that if someone is trying to recreate the exact template or the exact design using the exact colors, that you label the rhinestone colors that were intended for the design in case someone wants that same color scheme. So now we're just going to go ahead and duplicate the same line that I just did with neon emerald. And I've just selected the mouse tool in order to move that second layer up. And then I'm going to double click on that so that I can relabel this to say neon rose. Then we're going to do the exact same thing again. I'm going to go ahead and go to my layers, swipe that row to the left, hit duplicate, hit my mouse tool and move that next one up, and then click my brush button, double click on the text so that I can relabel that to my neon lavender, which is my purple color there, and then select the mouse tool just to move everything over to keep it all lined up. Our final color is going to be our jet black here. So again, I'm going to be duplicating the last layer I just used, selecting that using the mouse tool, bringing that and dragging that up to our jet black section. Then I'm going to double click on that on the brush button and then select and type out jet black there. And then use the mouse tool feature, the little mouse button, to scoot everything over. The other thing I'm going to do before I ended up going back and realizing that I forgot to put in neon citrine is I'm going to also name the pattern. So I am just going to duplicate one of my text layers, doesn't matter which, move it over, and then I'm going to rename this file. So I just named it something that just made sense for the design idea I had in mind. So just a neon basket weaving design, just so that I also had a name for the design as well. Should you want to sell these, obviously you want to have a name for your designs. So I feel like having this on your templates is also super important if, again, you're choosing to sell these. Now, if you're using them for personal use, probably doesn't matter as such, but certainly it might help to keep things kind of organized. So all I'm doing is just changing the sizing of my wording, as well as changing how close the rows of words are together so they're not so spaced out. And then I'm going to go ahead and just decrease the size a little bit because I didn't really need it to be so large. And then we're going to go back and replace that dot that I had originally meant to put down. Forgot that I didn't put the color yellow on there. But we're just going to go back to our layers, duplicate one of the other text layers, and then put our yellow dot down to label our final color, which is the neon citrine, the neon yellow color that we used. So that's the last kind of step of this process here. And so I really am in love with how this template came out. I feel like the final step is just really just doing any labeling. And again, that's only if you choose to want to label those things. Don't feel like you have to, but I thought I would include that in here as well, just to show you the text feature and how you can utilize that in Procreate to be able to have everything out of labeled and ready to go in case you are looking to, print these for yourself so you don't forget, or whatever the case may be. So that is kind of the final look for this, and I hope that you guys enjoyed sort of how I created this rhinestone template. I know there really isn't anything like this on YouTube, so I hope that this is helpful for anybody who's getting into the rhinestone game and doing a lot of rhinestone tumblers like I have found myself doing. But this was definitely a lot of fun. There's so many different ideas and different ways that you can create these. Lots of different, designs that you can use rhinestone templates to create. And so I can't wait to see if you guys are Procreate users, whatever you create. And certainly feel free to tag me and share them in either my Facebook group or tag me on social media. I love seeing all the beautiful designs. There's so many beautiful rhinestone template designs out there. And so I cannot wait to see what you create. So that is it for today's video. I do hope that you enjoyed it. And if you did, be sure to give this video a huge thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys again in the next one. Bye!